England, Sheffield, 1832. Friday, market day. You are standing in the middle of the market square. Around you meat, vegetables, livestock. An ordinary market, except for one thing. There is a rope around your neck. Not a noose, a lead, like on a cow. The other end is held by your husband. He is standing beside you, loudly listing your qualities to strangers who stop to look. Several hundred people around you. Children point. Someone laughs. You stare straight ahead. You are not crying. You cried everything out last night. Right now, you are simply waiting. Who will buy you? You will find out in a few minutes. His name is Joseph. You married 7 years ago. You were 17, he was 24. He worked at a foundry, drank in moderation, hit you rarely. By the standards of Sheffield in 1825, not a bad husband. Then the foundry closed. Then another opened, paid less. Then Joseph began drinking not in moderation. Then every day. The debts grew. You washed other people's laundry to buy food for the children. He drank what remained. Divorce in England in 1832 costs as much as your family earns in 20 years. Only an act of parliament can dissolve a marriage officially. Parliament does not concern itself with poor people from Sheffield. And so, Joseph comes to you with a rope and tells you he knows a way out. Here is what matters to understand. This is not kidnapping. This is not violence in the eyes of the law in 1832. This is a custom. Unofficial, technically illegal, but the police look the other way. One magistrate at the start of the century officially stated that he did not believe he had the right to prevent a wife sale. Under this custom, a husband leads his wife to the market with a rope around her neck or waist. He announces the sale, the buyer pays, in coins, in beer, in tobacco. A record of the sale is entered into the market toll book. The marriage is considered dissolved, neither party owes the other anything further. Legally, it means nothing. In practice, it is the only divorce the poor can afford. Nobody asks whether you want it. Nobody ever asks. You arrived early, before the crowd gathered. Joseph tied on the rope. You let him. Not because you agreed, because the alternative, staying with him, is worse. Now you stand by the meat stalls and he calls out to buyers like a livestock trader. He lists your qualities: healthy, hardworking, can cook, sew, wash. Several men step closer. They look at you. One touches your hair, checking. You do not move. A second asks how old are you. A third asks whether there are children. 2, Joseph says. They stay with me. You look at him. This is the first time all morning you almost lose your composure. The children stay with him, with the drunk, with the man selling you for coins. His name is Thomas. He came to the market for flour. He saw the crowd, he walked over. Now he stands in front of you and looks not like the others. He's not evaluating, he's simply looking. He's about 35, working hands, an ordinary face. Come. He asks Joseph, does she want this? Thomas shrugs. Up to her. Thomas looks at you. Do you want this? You are silent for a second. Then you say, as long as it's not him. Thomas nods. He counts out the coins. Joseph takes the money without looking at you. Thomas takes the rope and does the first thing that surprises you. He lifts it from your neck. He puts it in his pocket. He says, let's go. He does not pull. He simply walks. You follow. He lives alone, in a small house. Clean, unexpectedly clean for a bachelor. You step inside and don't know where to stand. He shows you a room, says it's yours. You wait for what comes next. He puts the kettle on, he cuts bread, he sets it on the table. He sits, he eats. He doesn't look at you like something he purchased. He doesn't explain what he expects. He simply eats bread and drinks tea. Then he says, I work at the weaving mill. I am over 5. If you want to cook, I'll pay you. If you don't, I'll find another arrangement. You look at him for a long time. You ask, why do you buy me? He thinks. Then he says, I don't know. I suppose because nobody else asked whether you wanted it. A week passes, then a month. Thomas doesn't touch you. He keeps his word. He pays. He doesn't drink. You begin to grow accustomed to the quiet in the house, to the fact that quiet doesn't mean danger. But at night, you lie awake and think of the children. Jane, 8 years old, William, 6. They are there with Joseph, with his bottle, with his dabs. You have no rights over them. The law of 1832 gives the mother nothing upon separation. Children are the property of the father, like furniture, like livestock. One morning you wake before Thomas. You put on your cloak, you walk to the old house. You stand at the fence. Jane comes into the yard. She saw you through the window. She runs. You stand at the fence and holds hands through the boards. Nothing more. It is enough to walk home on. 1884. Parliament passes a law. A wife is not the property of her husband. The sale of wives is officially made impossible. That is 52 years after that market morning in Sheffield. You are no longer alive by then. But here is what happened before. 3 years after the sale, Joseph died. Cirrhosis, death, winter. The children came to you. You and Thomas lived together for 31 years, without a wedding. The law never recognized your transaction as a marriage. But in 1871, when a neighbor died and left census record for the parish, in the column marked wife next to Thomas' name is your name. Someone wrote it in pencil, then traced it over in ink. And that is how it stayed. The last documented case of wife selling in England, 1913. A woman was sold for £1 sterling for her husband's workmate. She gave testimony in a Leeds police court, herself, voluntarily, because she wanted to leave. Wife selling in England was a real documented practice from the late 17th century to the early 20s. Approximately 300 documented cases between 1780 and 1850 from newspaper archives alone. The real number was significantly higher. Prices ranged from a pint of beer to several pounds. In 1803, in Sheffield, a man sold his wife like a cow, with a rope around her waist, handed over through a butcher. Newspapers reported the buyer and his cow lived very happily together. Until 1884, a wife was legally the property of her husband in England. Thomas Hardy wrote his novel The Mayor of Casterbridge, which opens with a wife sale scene, based on real newspaper reports from Dorset. Like and subscribe. Next video, your life as a concubine in ancient Rome, already on the channel.